The automatic doors of Memorial Hospital slid open one more time as Lisa dragged her exhausted body through them. Her blue scrubs were wrinkled and stained from the long day, and her feet ached in a way that made every step feel like walking on broken glass. She glanced at her phone. 10:30 at night. She'd started her shift at 6 in the morning. Another 16-hour day done. Lisa leaned against the concrete wall outside the hospital entrance and closed her eyes for just a moment. The cool night air felt good against her flushed cheeks. Inside her worn canvas bag, her phone buzzed. She already knew what it was. Another text from her friend Jessica. "The third one today, please, Lisa, just say yes. One date. That's all I'm asking." Lisa sighed and typed back with tired fingers. "Jess, I don't have time for dating. And I definitely don't have money for it." The reply came instantly. "You don't need money. Just show up and meet him. He's a good guy, I promise. You deserve to have some fun in your life." Fun. The word felt foreign to Lisa. When was the last time she'd done something just for fun? She couldn't even remember. Her life had become a cycle of work, sleep, worry about bills, and then more work. That's all it had been for the past 2 years. She pushed herself off the wall and started the long walk to the bus stop. Her car had broken down 3 weeks ago, and the mechanic's estimate made her want to cry. $1,200. She might as well have said 12 million. There was no way she could afford that right now. So she'd been taking buses and sometimes walking when she missed the connection. It added an extra hour to her commute each way. But what choice did she have? As Lisa sat on the plastic bench waiting for the number 42 bus, she pulled out her wallet. The leather was cracked and faded, a gift from her mom 5 years ago when things were different. When life was normal, she opened it slowly, already knowing what she'd find, but hoping somehow a miracle had occurred. One $5 bill, 3 quarters, 2 dimes, and a penny, $5.96. That's what stood between her and complete broke. Her next paycheck wouldn't hit her account for 3 more days. 3 days might as well be 3 years. Lisa felt the familiar tightness in her chest, the one that came whenever she thought too hard about money. Her student loans from nursing school took a big chunk of her paycheck every month. Then there was rent for her tiny studio apartment, the electric bill, her phone bill because she needed it for work, and the biggest expense of all, the one that ate up whatever was left, her mother's medical bills. Her mom had been diagnosed with diabetes 2 years ago. The medications were expensive. The doctor visits added up. And when her mom had been hospitalized last month with complications, Lisa had spent every penny of her savings to cover what the insurance wouldn't pay. She'd do it again in a heartbeat. Her mom had raised her alone, worked 3 jobs to put food on the table, sacrificed everything to give Lisa a good life. Now it was Lisa's turn to take care of her. But some days, like today, the weight of it all felt crushing. The bus finally arrived, its brakes squealing as it pulled to the curb. Lisa climbed aboard, swiped her nearly empty bus card, and collapsed into a seat near the back. She rested her head against the window and watched the city lights blur past. Her phone buzzed again. Jessica wasn't giving up. "Lisa Chen, I've known you since nursing school. You're the kindest, most hardworking person I know, but you never do anything for yourself. This guy's really nice. Just coffee." 1 hour, please." Lisa stared at the message. Jessica worked at some fancy coffee shop downtown now. She'd left nursing after a year, said it wasn't for her. Sometimes Lisa envied that choice, but mostly she couldn't imagine doing anything else. Despite everything, despite the exhaustion and the terrible pay and the emotional toll, she loved being a nurse. She loved helping people. She loved the feeling when a patient finally smiled after days of pain. She loved holding the hand of someone who was scared and seeing them calm down. That love for her job was the only thing keeping her going most days. She typed back, "Where and when?" Jessica's response was immediate and full of excitement. "Tomorrow, 7 p.m. The Brew Haven on 5th Street. His name is David. Brown hair, tall, really sweet smile. I promise you'll like him." Lisa felt a flutter of nervousness mixed with dread. A date at a cafe? That meant she'd need to buy something. You couldn't just sit in a cafe without ordering. She looked at her $5 bill again. A small coffee. She could afford a small coffee. She'd just tell him she already ate. It wouldn't be a complete lie. She'd grabbed a handful of crackers from the hospital break room around 3. "Okay," she typed back, "but just 1 hour. I have an early shift the next day." That was a lie. She actually had the next day off for the first time in 2 weeks. But she needed an escape plan. What if the date was terrible? What if this David guy was boring or rude or spent the whole time talking about himself? At least with the work excuse, she could leave gracefully. Jessica sent back a string of excited emojis that made Lisa smile despite her anxiety. When Lisa finally got home to her apartment, it was almost midnight. The studio was tiny, barely bigger than her hospital break room, but it was clean, and it was hers. She'd made it cozy with second-hand furniture and plants she'd rescued from the clearance section at the grocery store. The succulents on her windowsill were thriving, unlike her bank account. She peeled off her scrubs and stepped into the shower, letting the hot water wash away the stress of the day. Tomorrow she had to somehow pull off looking like a normal person on a date when she felt like a walking disaster. At least her hair was naturally nice, thick and dark and shiny even when she was exhausted. Small blessings. After her shower, Lisa stood in front of her small closet and assessed her options. Most of her clothes were scrubs in various shades of blue and purple. She had 2 pairs of jeans, both faded, 3 t-shirts, 1 cardigan with a small hole in the elbow, and in the very back, pushed behind everything else, 1 dress. She pulled it out and held it up. It was a simple navy blue dress with short sleeves. She'd bought it 2 years ago for a cousin's wedding. It was the nicest thing she owned, and she'd worn it exactly twice. The fabric was a little wrinkled, but nothing she couldn't fix with her iron tomorrow. Lisa hung the dress on the bathroom door and climbed into bed. Her mattress was old and sagged in the middle, but she was so tired it felt like a cloud. She set her alarm for 9. That would give her time to do laundry, iron the dress, and maybe do something with her hair that didn't scream overworked hospital nurse. As she lay in the darkness, she thought about the date. What would they talk about? She didn't watch movies anymore because streaming services cost money. She didn't go out because everything cost money. Her entire life revolved around work and taking care of her mom and trying to keep her head above water financially. She wasn't exactly interesting date material. Maybe Jessica was right, though. Maybe she needed this. 1 hour of pretending to be a normal person with a normal life. 1 hour of conversation with someone who wasn't a patient or a coworker. 1 hour where she could forget about bills and responsibilities and just be Lisa. Not Lisa the nurse. Not Lisa the struggling daughter trying to pay her mom's medical bills. Just Lisa. She picked up her phone one more time and looked at her bank account. The numbers glowed in the darkness. $42.18. That was everything she had in the world until Friday. The $5 in her wallet and the $37 in her checking account. She closed the banking app and opened her photo gallery instead. There was a picture of her mom from last month sitting in the hospital bed but smiling. Her mom's smile always made everything feel better. Lisa had taken the photo the day before discharge when they'd gotten the good news that the treatment was working. "I'm doing it, Mom," she whispered to the photo. "I'm going on a date. Can you believe it?" Her mom would be so excited if she knew. She was always telling Lisa to go out more, to find a nice man, to stop worrying so much about money. Easy for her to say. Her mom didn't know exactly how bad things were. Lisa had been careful to hide the full extent of her financial struggles. The last thing she wanted was her mom feeling guilty or stressed when she needed to focus on staying healthy. Lisa set the phone on her nightstand and pulled the thin blanket up to her chin. Tomorrow she'd wake up, get ready, and go meet this David person at the Brew Haven. She'd order her small coffee with her last $5. She'd smile and make conversation and pretend everything was fine. And maybe, just maybe, it would be nice. Maybe he'd be kind. Maybe they'd laugh. Maybe for 1 hour she could feel like a regular 28-year-old woman on a regular date, instead of someone who was drowning and trying desperately not to let anyone see. The exhaustion finally won, and Lisa drifted off to sleep with her alarm set and her navy dress waiting on the bathroom door. Tomorrow was a new day. Tomorrow she'd try something different. Tomorrow she'd take one small step toward having a life outside of work and worry. She didn't know it yet, but tomorrow would change everything. Lisa woke up the next morning with butterflies in her stomach. It had been so long since she'd felt nervous about anything other than work or bills. This was a different kind of nervous, the kind that came with possibilities and what-ifs. She got up and started her morning routine. Coffee first, the cheap instant kind that tasted like cardboard but did the job. While the water boiled, she grabbed the navy dress from the bathroom door and set up her old iron. The ironing board was wobbly, something she kept meaning to fix but never got around to. Story of her life, really. As she carefully pressed the wrinkles out of the dress, her phone rang. Her mom's name flashed on the screen. "Hey, Mom," Lisa answered, tucking the phone between her ear and shoulder while she worked. "Morning, sweetheart. How are you feeling? You sounded tired yesterday." "I'm good, Mom. Actually, I have some news. I'm going on a date tonight." The squeal that came through the phone made Lisa pull it away from her ear, laughing. "A date, Lisa? That's wonderful. Tell me everything. Who is he? Where did you meet him?" "His name is David. Jessica set us up. We're meeting at a coffee shop downtown at 7. "Jessica, that sweet girl from nursing school? Oh, I'm so happy. What are you going to wear?" Lisa looked down at the navy dress. "That blue dress from Amy's wedding. Remember? The one that makes your eyes look gorgeous? Perfect choice. I wish I could help you get ready. Do you need anything? Money for—" "No, Mom." Lisa cut her off gently but firmly. "I'm fine. I have everything I need. You just focus on feeling better, okay? How are you doing? Did you take your medication this morning?" They talked for another 20 minutes, her mom excitedly giving dating advice that was probably 30 years out of date. Lisa smiled through all of it. Her mom's happiness was contagious, even through the phone. When they finally hung up, Lisa felt lighter somehow. Maybe this date thing wasn't such a crazy idea after all. The rest of the day crawled by. Lisa did laundry in the apartment building's basement, folding her scrubs and towels with methodical precision. She cleaned her already clean apartment. She tried to read but couldn't focus. Finally, at 5:30, she started getting ready. The shower was quick. She couldn't afford to waste hot water. She dried her hair carefully, letting it fall naturally around her shoulders. A little mascara, some lip gloss she'd gotten as a free sample months ago. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. When was the last time she'd worn makeup? When was the last time she'd tried to look nice for any reason other than a job interview or family obligation? The dress fit perfectly, hugging her in all the right places. The navy blue made her skin look warm and brought out the color in her eyes. She slipped on her only pair of nice shoes, black flats that were comfortable enough to walk in but still looked presentable. One last look in the mirror. She looked like a normal woman going on a normal date. Nobody would know she was wearing her only dress or that she had $5 to her name. Sometimes pretending was enough. Lisa grabbed her small purse and carefully tucked the $5 bill inside. She checked 3 times to make sure it was there. Then she locked her apartment and headed out. The bus ride downtown felt longer than usual. Lisa watched the city change outside the window as they moved from her neighborhood into the nicer part of town. The buildings got taller, the cars got fancier. The people on the sidewalks wore expensive clothes and carried shopping bags from stores Lisa had only ever walked past. She got off at 5th Street and checked her phone. 6:45. She was early, which was good. It gave her time to scope out the cafe and maybe calm her racing heart. The Brew Haven sat on a corner, its large windows glowing with warm light. Through the glass, Lisa could see people sitting at small tables, chatting and laughing. The whole place had a cozy, welcoming vibe. It looked expensive, though. The kind of place where a small coffee probably cost $6. She took a deep breath and pushed through the door. A small bell chimed above her head. The smell hit her immediately. Fresh coffee, baked goods, something sweet and cinnamon. Her stomach growled, reminding her that she'd only eaten toast for breakfast and some crackers for lunch. The cafe was beautiful inside. Exposed brick walls, hanging plants, comfortable-looking chairs and couches scattered around. Soft music played in the background. String lights were draped along the ceiling, giving everything a magical glow. This wasn't just a coffee shop. This was the kind of place people came to impress someone. Lisa felt suddenly out of place. Her dress was nice, but it was nothing compared to what some of the other customers were wearing. She saw designer handbags and expensive watches. She clutched her worn purse a little tighter. The counter was at the back. Lisa approached it slowly, reading the menu board on the wall. Her heart sank. Small coffees started at $5.50. She only had $5. But she couldn't just stand here. The barista was already smiling at her, waiting to take her order. "Hi there. What can I get for you?" The barista was young, maybe 20, with bright eyes and a cheerful energy that made Lisa feel even more tired. Just a small cappuccino, please." Lisa pulled out her $5 bill and placed it on the counter, hoping the barista wouldn't notice her hand was shaking slightly. The barista rang it up. That'll be $5.50. Lisa's stomach dropped. Oh, I thought... The sign said $5. That's for drip coffee. Cappuccinos are $5.50. But hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. $5 is fine. The barista winked and took the bill. Lisa felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and gratitude. Thank you. Really, thank you so much. No problem at all. Have a great evening. The barista handed her a little number tag. We'll bring it to your table. Lisa found a small table near the window and sat down, clutching the number tag like a lifeline. She was here. She'd made it. Now she just had to wait for David and try not to think about how this was probably a terrible idea. She checked her phone. 6:58. 2 minutes. The door opened and Lisa looked up hopefully, but it was just a group of college students laughing about something. She turned back to the window, watching people walk by outside. Her cappuccino arrived, the foam topped with a perfect heart design. It looked too pretty to drink. 7 o'clock came and went. Then 7:05. Lisa sipped her cappuccino slowly, making it last. Maybe he was stuck in traffic. Maybe he was running late. Maybe he wasn't coming at all. At 7:10, the door opened again. A man walked in, tall and well-dressed in dark jeans and a button-down shirt. He had brown hair, neatly styled, and when he looked around the cafe, Lisa noticed his eyes were kind. He seemed to be searching for someone. Their eyes met across the room. He smiled and Lisa felt her heart skip. He walked toward her table with confident but not arrogant steps. "Lisa?" he asked, his voice warm and friendly. "Yes, David?" "That's me. I'm so sorry I'm late. The parking was nightmare." He gestured to the chair across from her. "May I?" "Of course, please sit." David settled into the chair and Lisa got a better look at him. He was handsome in an understated way. Not movie star handsome, but real person handsome. The kind of face that made you want to trust him. His shirt looked expensive, and his watch definitely was. She felt another pang of insecurity about her situation. "Jessica has told me so much about you," David said, leaning forward slightly. "She says you're an incredible nurse." Lisa smiled, feeling herself relax a tiny bit. "Jessica exaggerates, but I do love what I do." "That's not exaggerating, that's being honest. Not everyone loves their job. What made you want to become a nurse?" And just like that, they were talking. Really talking. Not the awkward small talk Lisa had been dreading, but genuine conversation. She told him about how her mom had been sick when Lisa was younger. Nothing serious, but enough that they'd spent time in hospitals. The nurses had been so kind, so caring. They'd made a scary situation feel manageable. Lisa had decided then, at 12 years old, that she wanted to be that person for other people. David listened intently, asking questions that showed he was actually interested. Not just nodding along, but really hearing her. When had someone last listened to her like this? "That's beautiful," he said when she finished. "The world needs more people like you. What kind of nursing do you do?" "I'm in the ER at Memorial Hospital. It's intense, but I like that every day is different. You never know what's coming through those doors. That must be incredibly stressful." "It is," Lisa admitted, "but it's also rewarding. Last week we had a little girl come in, 7 years old, bad asthma attack. She was so scared. I held her hand the whole time we got her stabilized, told her stories about my cat." "You have a cat?" Lisa laughed. "No, I made him up. Mr. Whiskers and his adventures." She was so distracted by the stories that she calmed down enough for the medication to work. Her mom cried and hugged me when they left. Those moments make everything worth it. David's smile was genuine. "Mr. Whiskers, huh? What kind of adventures does he have?" "Oh, all kinds. He's a very brave cat who's afraid of mice. He once tried to befriend a dog and ended up getting chased up a tree. He steals socks and hides them under the couch." They both laughed, and Lisa realized she was actually having fun. The nervousness had faded. This felt natural, easy. "Can I get you something else?" David asked, gesturing toward her nearly empty cappuccino. "Maybe something to eat? They have amazing pastries here." Lisa's stomach growled quietly, but she shook her head. "Oh no, I'm fine. I actually ate before I came." The lie came easily, practiced from months of declining invitations she couldn't afford. "Are you sure? I'm starving and I hate eating alone. Please let me order some things. You can just have a bite or two if you're not hungry." David stood up before she could protest. "I'll be right back." Lisa watched him walk to the counter, her mind racing. She should stop him. She should insist she didn't want anything. But her stomach betrayed her with another growl, louder this time. And honestly, she was starving. The toast this morning felt like a lifetime ago. David returned a few minutes later, and soon the barista brought over a tray loaded with food. Croissants, muffins, little sandwiches, fruit. Enough food for 4 people, let alone 2. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I got a variety, David said with a slightly sheepish smile. Help yourself. Seriously, I can't eat all this. Lisa hesitated for just a moment before reaching for a small sandwich. The first bite was heaven. Fresh bread, real turkey, crisp lettuce. She had to force herself not to devour it in 3 bites. Good? David asked, biting into a croissant. Really good, Lisa admitted. They ate and talked and ate. David asked about her life, her interests, her dreams. Questions nobody had asked her in forever. Lisa found herself opening up more than she'd planned. She told him about her love of plants, how she rescued them from clearance sections and nursed them back to health. She told him about her mom and how close they were. She even mentioned carefully that money was tight sometimes. Being a nurse should pay better, David said, shaking his head. You're literally saving lives. That should be valued more. I agree, but it is what it is. I didn't go into nursing for the money anyway. Still, everyone deserves to be able to live comfortably, especially people doing such important work. Lisa appreciated that he didn't pity her or make it awkward. He just acknowledged it and moved on. She took another sandwich, then a muffin. The food was so good and her body was so grateful for real nourishment. What about you? Lisa asked. What do you do? I'm in the coffee business, David said simply. I work with cafes, help them run better, that sort of thing. That sounds interesting. Is that why you picked this place for our date? Something flickered across David's face, too quick for Lisa to read. Yeah, something like that. I know the owner pretty well. It's a good spot. They continued talking as the cafe buzzed with activity around them. Lisa noticed that the staff seemed to glance their way occasionally, but she figured they were just wondering why 2 people were sitting at a small table with enough food for a party. Time flew by. 7:30 became 8. 8 became 8:30. Lisa couldn't remember the last time she'd enjoyed someone's company this much. David was funny and smart, but also humble. He asked her opinion on things. He laughed at her jokes. He made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. I have to ask, David said, leaning back in his chair. Why did you agree to this blind date? Jessica said you were pretty resistant at first. Lisa felt her cheeks warm. Honestly? She wore me down. I don't really date. I work a lot and I'm usually too tired or too broke or both. But you said yes eventually. I did. I guess part of me wondered if maybe I was missing out on something by always saying no. Life can't just be work and sleep and worry, right? There has to be more than that. There definitely should be more than that, David agreed. His expression turned serious. Can I tell you something? Sure. I was nervous about tonight too. Jessica talked you up so much that I was worried I'd disappoint you. Rich guy who works with coffee shops versus a nurse who saves lives? Not exactly an even match, Lisa laughed. Are you kidding? I showed up with $5 to my name and ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. If anyone should be worried about disappointing, it's me. The words were out before she could stop them. Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. She couldn't believe she'd just admitted that. But David didn't look shocked or uncomfortable. Instead, his expression softened. Lisa, the fact that you came at all, that you spent your last $5 on a coffee just to meet me? That tells me everything I need to know about your character. You could have canceled. You could have asked to postpone. But you showed up with your head held high. Lisa felt tears prick at her eyes. She blinked them back quickly. It's embarrassing. It's honest. And honesty is rare. David reached across the table and gently touched her hand. Thank you for being here tonight. They sat like that for a moment, his hand warm on hers, the noise of the cafe fading into the background. Lisa felt something shift in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or possibility. Or just the simple relief of being accepted exactly as she was. The moment was broken by a barista approaching their table. Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry to interrupt. David quickly pulled his hand back and the barista stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening as she realized her mistake. Lisa's mind raced. Mr. Harrison. She looked at David, confusion written all over her face. What did she just call you? The barista's face turned bright red. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll just... There's an issue at the register that needs your attention when you have a moment. She practically ran back to the counter. Lisa stared at David, her mind trying to piece together what just happened. Mr. Harrison, why did she call you that? And why does she need your attention about the register? David closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. When he opened them, he looked genuinely uncomfortable. Lisa, I need to tell you something. I should have told you from the beginning, but I wanted you to get to know me as just David first. Get to know you as just David? What does that mean? Lisa's voice was rising slightly. Other customers were starting to glance their way. I'm David Harrison. I own the Brew Haven. Actually, I own 7 of them across the city. This is my flagship location. The words hung in the air between them. Lisa felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. She looked around the cafe with new eyes. The expensive decor, the top-of-the-line espresso machine behind the counter, the staff in their perfectly coordinated uniforms. This wasn't just some random coffee shop. This was his coffee shop. You own this place, Lisa said slowly, trying to process it. I spent my last $5 in your cafe. I sat here for the past hour and a half, nursing a single cappuccino that your employee gave me a discount on because I couldn't afford the full price. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? Lisa, please, no. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need to go. Wait, please don't leave. Let me explain. David stood too, his expression pleading. Explain what? That you were slumming it with the poor nurse? That this was some kind of social experiment? See how the other half lives? Lisa grabbed her purse, her hands shaking. That's not fair and you know it. I wasn't pretending to like you. Everything we talked about, everything I said, that was all real. But you lied about who you are. I work with cafes, she quoted his earlier words. That's not the same as owning them, David, or should I call you Mr. Harrison? People were definitely watching now. Lisa could feel their eyes on her. The poor girl in the clearance rack dress making a scene in the fancy coffee shop. She wanted to crawl under the table and disappear. Can we please talk about this outside? David asked quietly. You're right to be upset. But please, give me a chance to explain properly. Lisa looked at him. Really looked at him. His expensive shirt probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. His watch could probably pay her rent for 3 months. They were from completely different worlds, and she'd been stupid to think otherwise even for a moment. But despite her anger and embarrassment, she could see that he looked genuinely distressed. His eyes were pleading, and there was nothing fake or calculated about his expression. Against her better judgment, she nodded. They walked outside together, the cool evening air hitting Lisa's flushed face. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly feeling cold despite the mild temperature. David guided her to a bench a few doors down from the cafe, away from the windows and prying eyes. They sat in silence for a moment. Lisa stared at her hands, not trusting herself to speak without crying. She would not cry in front of him. She wouldn't give him that. I'm sorry, David said finally. I should have been upfront from the beginning. Jessica told me about you weeks ago. She works at my downtown location, did you know that? She never mentioned where exactly she worked, just that it was some coffee place. She told me about her friend from nursing school, the one who worked herself to exhaustion taking care of everyone else but never asked for help. The one who'd given up dating and social life to pay her mother's medical bills. The one who was drowning but too proud to let anyone throw her a lifeline. Lisa's head snapped up. She told you all that? She had no right. She cares about you. She's worried about you. And when she suggested I meet you, I said yes because I wanted to meet someone real. Do you know how hard it is to date when you have money? Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. I never know if someone likes me or for my bank account. Poor you, Lisa said bitterly. Must be so hard being rich. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm trying to explain why I didn't tell you right away. I wanted one conversation where someone talked to me like I was just a regular guy. And that's exactly what you did. You told me about your work, your mom, your rescued plants. You shared real things with me. Not fake impressed by money stuff. Real life. Lisa felt some of her anger deflating, but the embarrassment remained. I spent my last $5 in your cafe, David. Do you understand how that feels? Your employee felt so bad for me that she gave me a discount. In your own business. While you sat across from me pretending to be just some guy who works with coffee shops. The barista who helped you? That's Kelly. She's been with me for 3 years. She did that because that's who she is. Not because she felt sorry for you. And I didn't ask her to or know she did until you just told me. She treats everyone with kindness. That's why I hired her. That doesn't change the fact that I was sitting in here broke while you're the owner. It's mortifying. David turned to face her fully. Can I tell you how I saw tonight? I saw a woman who showed up even though it was hard. Who spent money she didn't have because she gave someone a chance. Who talked about her work with such passion that I could feel how much she cares. Who made up stories about a fictional cat to comfort a scared child. Who lit up when she talked about saving clearance rack plants. I saw someone with more character and strength than anyone I've met in years. Stop trying to make me feel better with pretty words. They're not pretty words, Lisa. They're the truth. Yes, I own some coffee shops. Yes, I have money. But I started out as a barista making minimum wage 7 years ago. I worked 3 jobs, saved every penny, took out loans I'm still paying back. I bought my first struggling cafe and turned it around. Then another. Then another. I'm not old money or trust fund money. I'm work yourself to death and get lucky money. Lisa looked at him, searching his face for signs of deception. All she saw was earnestness. Why didn't you just tell me? Because I wanted you to see me first, not my business or my bank account. Me, and I think maybe you did for a little while. Before Kelly's slip-up, we were just 2 people having coffee and talking. It was the best date I've had in years, maybe ever. It was a good date, Lisa admitted quietly. Until it wasn't. It can still be good. If you let it, Lisa shook her head. David, look at us. Really, look. You own 7 successful businesses. I can barely keep my head above water. You probably have a nice house and a fancy car. I take the bus and live in a studio apartment where the heater doesn't work half the time. We're not compatible. Money doesn't determine compatibility. Easy for someone with money to say. You're right, David said, surprising her. That was a privileged thing to say. But I remember what it was like to struggle. My mom raised me alone after my dad left. We were on food stamps. I wore the same pair of shoes for 3 years because we couldn't afford new ones. I get it more than you might think. Lisa felt something soften in her chest. How did you go from food stamps to owning 7 cafes? Determination, luck. Some good mentors who took chances on me. A lot of very long days and very short nights. And probably some opportunities that I got partially because I'm a man in business, which isn't fair, but it's true. He paused. The point is, I know what it's like to count every dollar. To be embarrassed about your situation. To feel like you're working as hard as you can and still barely surviving. Then you should understand why this is weird for me. You're on the other side now. I'm still drowning. What if I want to help? I don't want your charity, David. It's not charity if it comes from someone who cares about you. Lisa stood up abruptly. You don't know me well enough to care about me. We had 1 date, 1 conversation. You don't owe me anything, and I don't want anything from you except honesty, which apparently was too much to ask. She started walking toward the bus stop, her eyes stinging with tears she refused to let fall. Behind her, she heard David call her name, but she didn't turn around. She couldn't. If she looked at him again, she might lose her resolve. The bus ride home was torture. Lisa stared out the window, replaying the evening in her mind. The good parts kept mixing with the embarrassing parts until she couldn't separate them anymore. She'd had such a nice time. David had been kind and funny and interested in her life. The conversation had flowed so naturally. For a few hours, she'd felt like a normal person on a normal date. But it had all been built on a lie. Not a big lie, maybe, but a lie nonetheless. He'd let her sit there in his cafe, spending her last money, eating food he probably wrote off as a business expense while he played at being a regular guy. How could she trust anything about their interaction now? When Lisa got home, she kicked off her shoes and collapsed on her bed, still in the navy dress. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. How did it go? Tell me everything. Lisa stared at the message. How did it go? Where did she even start? She typed back, Did you know David owns the Brew Haven? The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a message came through. Yes, I work for him. I thought you knew coffee shops. Did he not tell you? He told me he works with cafes, not that he owns them. I spent my last $5 in his cafe, Jess. I couldn't even afford a full-price coffee. Oh no. Oh, Lisa, I'm so sorry. I thought he would tell you right away. I told him to be honest. Well, he wasn't, and now I feel like an idiot. He's really a good guy, Lisa. I wouldn't have set you up with someone I didn't trust. Maybe give him another chance to explain. Lisa didn't respond. She set her phone on her nightstand and stared at the ceiling. The water stain in the corner looked like a rabbit. She'd been staring at it for 6 months, ever since the upstairs neighbor's pipe had leaked. The landlord still hadn't fixed it properly. This was her life. Water stains and broken heaters and $5 to her name. Dating a successful business owner was never going to work. They were too different. She'd been stupid to even try. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. She almost didn't open it, but curiosity won out. "Lisa, it's David. Jessica gave me your number. I hope that's okay. I know you're upset and you have every right to be. I handled this badly. I should have been upfront from the beginning. But I meant what I said outside the cafe. Tonight was special to me. You're special. If you're willing, I'd like to see you again. No secrets this time. Just honesty. If not, I understand. Either way, I'm sorry for making you feel uncomfortable. You deserved better. David." Lisa read the message 3 times. Part of her wanted to delete it and block the number. But another part, a bigger part if she was honest with herself, wanted to respond. Wanted to give him that second chance. Wanted to see if maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. She set the phone down without responding. She needed time to think. Time to process everything that had happened. Time to figure out what she really wanted. As she changed out of her dress and into pajamas, Lisa caught sight of herself in the mirror. Despite everything, despite the confusion and embarrassment and anger, there was a tiny smile on her face. Because underneath all the complicated feelings, one truth remained. For a few hours tonight, she'd forgotten about her problems. She'd laughed and talked and felt like herself again. Not Lisa, the struggling nurse, or Lisa, the broke daughter. Just Lisa. And David, whoever he really was, had made her feel seen and heard and valued. Maybe that was worth taking a risk for. Maybe. Lisa woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming through her window. For a few blissful seconds, she forgot about everything. Then it all came rushing back. The date, the revelation, David's text message that she still hadn't answered. She rolled over and grabbed her phone. 7:30. She actually had the day off, her first in 2 weeks, but her body was so used to early mornings that sleeping in felt impossible. There were 3 new messages. One from Jessica asking if she was okay. One from her mom asking how the date went. And one from David sent at 6 in the morning. "Good morning. I hope you slept well. No pressure to respond to my message from last night. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you." Lisa set the phone down and dragged herself to the shower. The water took forever to heat up, as usual. As she stood under the weak spray, she thought about everything David had said. About wanting to meet someone real. About remembering what it was like to struggle. About her being special. Was she being too harsh? Maybe. But she'd been burned before by people who said nice things but didn't mean them. 3 years ago, she'd dated someone who seemed perfect until she found out he'd been lying about having a job. He'd been using her for money for a place to stay. She'd learned then to be careful, to protect herself, but David wasn't asking her for anything. If anything, he wanted to give. That's what made it complicated. Lisa had spent so long being independent, handling everything herself, that the idea of accepting help felt wrong. Like admitting defeat. After her shower, Lisa made coffee and sat by her window. Her little succulent garden was thriving on the sill. She'd saved all of these plants from the clearance section, nursed them back to health with careful attention and cheap fertilizer. They were survivors just like her. Her phone rang. Her mom. "Morning, sweetheart. I couldn't wait any longer. How was the date?" Lisa sighed. "It was complicated, Mom." "Complicated how? Did he turn out to be weird? Rude? Married?" "No, nothing like that. He was actually really nice. Too nice, maybe. How can someone be too nice?" Lisa found herself telling her mom everything. The cafe, the conversation, finding out David owned the place, her embarrassment, their talk outside, the text message. Her mom listened without interrupting, something Lisa appreciated. When she finished, her mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Baby, can I tell you something? You've been taking care of me for 2 years now, paying my bills, making sure I have my medications, checking on me constantly. You've put your whole life on hold to help me. Mom, that's different. You're my mother. I love you, and I love you. Which is why I need to say this. You deserve to be happy. You deserve someone who treats you well and wants to make your life easier, not harder. This David, he sounds like a good man who made one mistake by not telling you the whole truth right away, but he apologized. he explained. "And he wants to see you again. But we're from such different worlds. So what? Your father and I were from different worlds too. He was a college professor's son, and I was a waitress who barely finished high school. Everyone said it wouldn't work. But we had 10 beautiful years together before he passed. 10 years that gave me you. Don't let fear of differences stop you from something that could be wonderful." Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. Her dad had died when she was 8. She barely remembered him, but her mom talked about him often enough that Lisa felt like she knew him anyway. "What if I'm not enough for him? Oh, honey. What if you're exactly what he needs? What if he's exactly what you need? You won't know unless you try." After they hung up, Lisa sat with her coffee and thought. Her mom was right. She was letting fear make her decisions. Fear of being hurt, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough. When had she become so afraid? She picked up her phone and opened David's message. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. What did she even say? "Sorry for freaking out. Let's try again." She started typing several messages and deleted them all. Finally, she settled on something simple. "Hi, David. Thank you for the apology. I overreacted last night. I'd like to talk more if you're still interested." She hit send before she could change her mind. Then she stared at the phone, waiting. The 3 dots appeared almost immediately. "I'm definitely still interested. Are you working today?" "No, I actually have the day off. Would you want to meet for lunch? Somewhere that's not one of my cafes, so there's no weirdness. Just a regular restaurant. My treat, please." Lisa smiled despite herself. "Okay, but I'm buying my own lunch. I need to do this as equals." "Deal. How about Antonio's on Maple Street, noon? See you there." Lisa spent the next few hours trying to decide what to wear. Not the navy dress again. That felt too formal now, too loaded with last night's emotions. She settled on her good jeans and a simple green sweater that her mom had given her for Christmas. Casual but nice. At 11:45, she caught the bus toward Maple Street. Antonio's was a small Italian place she'd walked past 100 times but never been inside. It looked cozy from the outside, not fancy but not cheap either. The kind of place regular people could afford for a special occasion. David was already there when she arrived, standing outside the door. He was dressed more casually today, jeans and a simple blue shirt. He looked nervous, which somehow made Lisa feel better. At least she wasn't the only one. "Hi," he said when he saw her. "Hi." They stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then David smiled. "Should we go in? Or do you want to stand out here discussing the weather first?" Lisa laughed and the tension broke. "Let's go in. I'm starving." The restaurant was warm and smelled amazing. Garlic and tomatoes and fresh bread. An older woman with kind eyes seated them at a small table by the window. She handed them menus and promised to be back with water. "Thank you for coming," David said once they were alone. "I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I would either. But my mom gave me a talking to this morning." "Smart woman, your mom." "She is. She also told me I've been letting fear run my life." David nodded slowly. "I can understand that. Fear runs a lot of things for a lot of people." The waitress came back with water and took their orders. Lisa chose the cheapest pasta on the menu out of habit, then caught herself and changed it to what she actually wanted, the chicken parmesan. "Baby steps toward accepting things, so," David said once the waitress left. "Full honesty, like I promised. What do you want to know?" "Everything, I guess." "Tell me about your business. How did you really go from barista to owner?" David leaned back in his chair. "It's not a fancy story. I was 21 working 3 jobs just to pay rent. One of those jobs was at a coffee shop that was going under. The owner was this old guy named Frank who'd run it for 30 years but couldn't keep up anymore. He was going to close it and I'd be out of a job I actually liked. What did you do? I asked him if I could buy it. He laughed at first. I was a kid with no money and no business experience. But I was persistent. I showed him a business plan I'd written, ideas for updating the menu, bringing in new customers, cutting costs. He saw something in me, I guess. He agreed to owner financing. Basically, I'd pay him back over time from the cafe's profits. That's risky. What if it failed? Then I'd have been in massive debt with nothing to show for it. But it didn't fail. I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I did everything myself. Barista, janitor, bookkeeper, marketing. Slowly, the place turned around. Within 2 years, I'd paid Frank back and actually had money in the bank. Lisa found herself leaning forward, genuinely interested. Then what? Then another struggling cafe came up for sale. I bought it with a real bank loan this time. Fixed it up, applied what I'd learned. It worked again. Then another. Now I have 7, like I told you last night, but I still remember cleaning toilets at 2 in the morning and wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. That's actually really impressive. It's exhausting is what it is. I love it, but sometimes I miss the simplicity of just making coffee and chatting with customers. Now it's all spreadsheets and employee schedules and lease negotiations. Their food arrived and they ate while David told her more stories. About the cafe that had a mouse problem he'd had to deal with himself because he couldn't afford an exterminator. About the employee who stole from the register and how hard it was to fire someone even when they deserved it. About the regular customer who became a friend and gave him advice when he was struggling. Lisa found herself relaxing. This wasn't the story of some rich guy who had everything handed to him. This was the story of someone who'd worked just as hard as she did, who understood struggle and sacrifice. Your turn, David said, pushing his empty plate aside. Tell me something real about you. Something you don't usually share. Lisa thought about it. I'm tired, she said finally. Like bone deep tired. I love nursing, I really do. But sometimes I lie in bed and think about what it would be like to just rest, to not worry about money or schedules or whether my mom took her medication, to just exist without all the weight. That's honest. You asked for real. That's as real as it gets. Do you ever let anyone help you? Or do you insist on carrying everything yourself? Lisa picked at her napkin. I don't like asking for help. It feels like admitting I can't handle things. But what if you're not supposed to handle everything alone? What if part of being human is accepting help sometimes? Is this the part where you offer to help me and I'm supposed to say yes? David smiled. No. This is the part where I tell you I'm here if you ever want help. But I'm not going to push it on you. That's your choice to make. The waitress came back with the check. Lisa reached for it, but David was faster. I said my treat. We agreed to be equals. Equals doesn't mean we can't take turns. You can buy next time. What makes you think there will be a next time? Hope? Optimism? Shameless wishful thinking? Lisa laughed. Okay, fine. You win this round. They walked outside together into the afternoon sunshine. David's car was parked nearby, something expensive and sleek that Lisa couldn't identify. Her bus stop was 2 blocks away. Can I drive you home? David offered. I can take the bus. It's fine. Lisa, please, let me do this one small thing. No strings attached. Just a ride home. She looked at him, at the genuine kindness in his eyes, and made a decision. Okay, thank you. The car was as nice inside as it looked outside. Leather seats, a fancy sound system, that new car smell. Lisa gave him her address, feeling self-conscious about her neighborhood. That's near Memorial Hospital, right? David asked as he drove. Yeah, about a 10-minute walk. It's convenient for work, at least. When they pulled up in front of her building, Lisa felt a wave of embarrassment. The paint was peeling. The front steps were cracked. A broken plastic bag fluttered against the fence. It looked exactly like what it was, cheap housing for people with no better options. This is me, she said quickly, reaching for the door handle. Lisa, wait. David turned to face her. I had a really good time today, both today and last night before everything got complicated. I'd like to see you again, on purpose this time, not as a setup. What do you think? Lisa looked at him, really looked at him, at his hopeful expression and nervous hands gripping the steering wheel. He wasn't perfect. He'd made a mistake by not